High above Seattle's glittering skyline, in the steel and glass fortress of Horizon Innovations, a tech empire teeters on the brink of collapse. A billion-dollar AI platform crashes relentlessly, defying the world's top engineers. Investors circle like vultures, and CEO Laura Bennett's legacy hangs by a thread. Yet, in the shadows of the 50th floor lobby, a janitor named James Carter pushes his mop, his calloused hands hiding a secret that could save it all. Once a software architect whose genius shaped global systems, James now toils in obscurity to fund his son Ethan's battle with a rare illness. Night after night, he overhears frantic tech talk, clues to a flaw no one else sees. With Horizon's fate and Ethan's future at stake, James faces a choice: remain invisible or risk everything to reveal his past. One decision could rewrite his story, topple a saboteur, and prove that brilliance knows no title. As the clock ticks toward disaster, a single dad's courage will ignite a revolution, showing the world that heroes can rise from the most unlikely places. Will James seize this moment, or will fear keep him sweeping floors forever? The conference room on Horizon Innovations' 50th floor crackled with tension so palpable it could choke the air. Laura Bennett, CEO and founder of the Seattle-based tech juggernaut, stood at the head of a sleek obsidian table, her sharp gray eyes scanning the room. 10 of the world's most renowned AI engineers, each commanding six-figure consulting fees, sat before her, their faces etched with defeat. For 8 months, Horizon's flagship AI platform, Nexus Core, had crashed every time it was deployed, bleeding $3 million daily. Investors were livid, threatening to pull funding, and the board whispered of replacing Laura. Her empire, built from a dorm room startup over 2 decades, was crumbling. Let me be clear, Laura's voice sliced through the silence, cold as steel. We've spent $15 million, and not one of you can explain why Nexus Core fails. Our clients, banks, hospitals, governments, are losing faith. Fix this, or we're finished. Dr. Emily Chun, lead AI specialist with a PhD from Stanford, adjusted her glasses nervously. Ms. Bennett, the algorithms are flawless on paper, but the system overloads during initialization. We've rebuilt the code, upgraded servers, even consulted MIT. It's inexplicable. Laura's fingers drummed the table. Inexplicable doesn't pay the bills, Dr. Chen. She turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle's Puget Sound glittering below. The city pulsed with life, oblivious to the catastrophe unfolding above. Laura had clawed her way from nothing, a scholarship kid who outsmarted Ivy League elites. Now, her vision for AI-driven global connectivity was at risk. You have 72 hours, she said, not turning. If Nexus Core isn't stable by Friday, I'll clean house, starting with you, Chin. The engineers filed out, their murmurs a mix of fear and frustration. Laura stayed by the window, her reflection stark against the glass. Success had once felt like freedom, now it was a noose. Her phone buzzed, an irate investor demanding answers. She ignored it, gazing at the streets below where ordinary lives unfolded. Somewhere down there, people worked honest jobs, free from the weight of empires. She envied them. What Laura didn't know was that 50 floors below, in the polished lobby she rarely noticed, a man mopped the marble floors with a secret that could save Horizon. James Carter, in his faded janitor's uniform, moved silently, his mind racing with fragments of overheard tech talk. For 3 years, he'd cleaned these halls, invisible to the suits rushing past. But tonight, as the building quieted, James paused, his mop still. He'd heard enough to know Nexus Core's flaw wasn't in the code, it was deeper, in the system's core architecture. His past as a software architect stirred, a life he'd buried to protect his son. James glanced up at the glowing 50th floor windows where Laura stood, a silhouette against the night. He had one day to decide, stay safe in the shadows or risk everything to change their fates. The stakes were higher than anyone realized. Horizon's collapse would ruin thousands of jobs, and Ethan's medical bills wouldn't wait. James tightened his grip on the mop, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. Tomorrow, he'd either save a tech giant or lose the fragile life he built. James Carter pushed his mop bucket across Horizon Innovations' gleaming lobby, the marble reflecting Seattle's neon glow. His worn sneakers squeaked faintly, a sound swallowed by the hum of late-night HVAC systems. At 38, James was a single father whose calloused hands told a story of sacrifice. 3 years ago, he'd been a janitor by necessity, not choice. Before that, he was Jacob Carter, senior software architect at Quantum Dynamics, designing AI frameworks for Fortune 500 firms. His corner office, stock options, and team of 30 coders were a distant memory, erased by life's cruel arithmetic. His son, Ethan, now 10, had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder at age 5. Experimental treatments, uncovered by insurance, cost $4,000 monthly. When Quantum downsized in 2018, James was let go. The tech world turned its back on a man desperate enough to drain his savings for medical bills. Pride became a luxury. Survival demanded a janitor's wage. James took the night shift at Horizon for its health benefits, sleeping while Ethan was at school and working while he slept. Every night, as he polished desks and emptied trash, James overheard snippets of Horizon's tech woes. His mind, still sharp, pieced together patterns others missed. Nexus Score's crashes weren't random. They stemmed from a synchronization flaw he'd seen a decade ago at Quantum. Last night, wiping down the 30th floor break room, he'd heard two junior coders, Sarah and Liam, lamenting the AI's failure. "It's like the system chokes when all modules activate at once," Sarah said. "Shen thinks it's hardware, but we've swapped everything," Liam replied. James paused, his rag mid-swipe. He knew the issue. The AI's load balancer couldn't handle simultaneous module requests, triggering a cascade shutdown. His old self, Jacob, the architect, itched to act. But the risk was immense. Revealing his past could cost his job, and Ethan's treatments depended on stability. At 7:30 a.m., James parked his battered Toyota outside Lincoln Elementary. Ethan, small for his age but bright-eyed, slung his backpack over a frail shoulder. "Dad, don't forget my science fair Friday," he said, hugging James before darting to class. James watched him go, his chest tight. The fair meant missing a shift, less money for groceries. But Ethan's smile was worth it. Back at Horizon, James began his routine, but his thoughts lingered on Nexus Core. As he cleaned the executive restroom, he overheard Dr. Chen on a call. "We're out of options. Laura's deadline is tomorrow." James's grip tightened on his spray bottle. He could fix this, he knew it. But speaking up meant exposing his past, risking the anonymity that shielded his family. By noon, as frantic engineers flooded the lobby, James felt the weight of his secret. Dr. Chen emerged, her face haggard, barking into her phone. "My career's on the line." James, invisible in his uniform, felt a spark of defiance. He wasn't just a janitor. He was a father fighting for his son's future. At 2 p.m., he made his choice. Finding his friend, night guard Marcus Tate. In the security office, James said, "Marcus, I need you to get a message to Laura Bennett." Marcus laughed. "The janitor fixing AI? You crazy." James showed him a diagram sketched on a napkin. "Tell her the AI's load balancer is choking on module sync. I can fix it." Marcus's jaw dropped. But James's eyes burned with certainty. This was his moment or his ruin. James Carter's heart pounded as he mopped the 50th floor hallway, the hum of Horizon Innovations servers a distant pulse. For 3 years, he'd been a ghost in this building, his janitor's uniform rendering him invisible. But last night's overheard conversation in the break room had cracked something open. Sarah and Liam, junior coders, had vented about Nexus Score's crashes, their words echoing a problem James had solved a decade ago at Quantum Dynamics. The AI platform's modules were overwhelming the load balancer during initialization, causing a system-wide shutdown. It wasn't a code error or hardware failure. It was a timing flaw in the architecture. James's old instincts flared, his mind mapping the issue with precision honed by years of designing AI systems. He could see the solution: stagger the module activations by milliseconds to prevent overload. But knowing wasn't enough. Acting on it meant stepping out of the shadows, risking the stable life he'd built for Ethan. At 10 a.m., as he polished the executive conference room's glass table, James overheard Dr. Emily Chun briefing her team. "The load tests show no errors until deployment. It's like the system's allergic to going live." A coder muttered, "We're missing something fundamental." James froze. His reflection in the glass a stark reminder of his dual identity, janitor and genius. He knew exactly what they missed. By noon, the lobby buzzed with engineers, their laptops open, faces drawn. "Dr. Chin stormed past, her phone call audible. "Laura's giving us until tomorrow, or we're all out." James's pulse quickened. Horizon's collapse would ripple, layoffs, lost contracts, and for him, No insurance for Ethan's treatments. He couldn't stay silent. At 1:30 p.m., James found Marcus Tate in the security office, his friend's coffee mug steaming. "Marcus, I need a favor," James said. Closing the door, Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What's up, man?" James slid a napkin across the desk, covered in technical diagrams. Nexus core is crashing because the load balancer can't handle simultaneous module requests. Tell Laura Bennett the janitor knows how to fix it. Marcus choked on his coffee. "You're serious?" "Laura'll fire us both." James's voice was steady. "Tell her it's a synchronization flaw. Stagger the module launches and the system stabilizes." "I've seen this before." Marcus studied the napkin. Then James's face. "How do you know this stuff?" James hesitated. "I used to be someone else. Just deliver the message." Marcus dialed Laura's assistant, Rachel, repeating James's explanation word for word. Rachel paused, the technical jargon catching her off guard. "Hold on," she said. Minutes later, she knocked on Laura's office door. "Ms. Bennett. Security has an unusual message about Nexus Core." From the janitor. Laura, drafting layoff notices, looked up, incredulous. "The janitor?" Rachel relayed James's diagnosis. Laura's skepticism warred with desperation. "Bring him to me. Now." At 2:15 p.m., James stood in the lobby, his mop cart beside him, as Marcus led Laura over. Her tailored suit and commanding presence dwarfed his faded uniform. "You're the janitor who claims he can fix my AI?" Laura's tone was sharp, her patience thin. "Yes, ma'am," James said. His voice calmed despite trembling hands. "I know why Nexus Core crashes. I can fix it in 30 minutes. Laura crossed her arms. "You have 2 minutes to convince me you're not insane." James took a breath, his future, and Ethan's, hanging on every word. James Carter stood in Horizon Innovations' lobby, his janitor's uniform stark against the marble expanse. Laura Bennett, CEO, loomed before him, her eyes boring into his. 2 minutes, she repeated, her voice ablade. "Convince me you're not wasting my time." James's heart raced, but his mind was clear, honed by years of technical mastery. Nexus Core crashes because its modules activate simultaneously, overwhelming the load balancer, he began. The system misreads the spike as a threat, triggering a shutdown. Stagger the module launches by 0.2 seconds and adjust the balancer's timeout settings. "It's not code or hardware, it's timing." Laura's expression flickered, skepticism battling intrigue. "How do you know this?" she pressed. James met her gaze. "Because I designed systems like this 12 years ago at Quantum Dynamics. I was their lead architect." The lobby seemed to hold its breath. Laura's eyes narrowed. "A janitor who is a lead architect? Why should I believe you?" James's voice steadied. "Because I have nothing to gain by lying and everything to lose if I'm wrong. Give me 30 minutes at a terminal. If I fail, fire me." Laura studied him, her business acumen weighing his confidence against the absurdity of his claim. Dr. Emily Chin, overhearing, scoffed from nearby. "This is madness, Laura. He's a janitor." Laura silenced her with a look. "My company's dying, Emily. I'll take any chance." She turned to James. "You get 30 minutes. Don't make me regret this." At 2:45 p.m., James followed Laura and Chin to the server room, a cathedral of blinking lights and humming machines. Engineers gaped as the janitor was ushered to the main terminal. Chin muttered, "If he crashes Nexus Core, we lose a week's testing." Laura's response was icy. "It's already broken. Let him try." James's fingers hovered over the keyboard, his pulse pounding. Years of cleaning hadn't dulled his instincts. They'd only sharpened his hunger. He navigated the AI's architecture with eerie fluency, lines of code unfolding like a familiar book. "Here," he said after 10 minutes, pointing to a configuration file. "The load balancer's set to process all requests at once. I'm staggering the module launches." His fingers flew, adjusting parameters with precision. Chen leaned closer, her skepticism wavering as she followed his logic. "That might actually work," she admitted grudgingly. James ignored her, his focus absolute. At 3:12 p.m., he made his final adjustment. "Done. Run the launch sequence." Laura hesitated, then pressed the initialization button. The room fell silent, the servers hummed the only sound. For 15 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then, green lights flickered across the status board. Nexus Core's modules activated smoothly, no errors, no crashes. Chen's jaw dropped. "It's stable." The system ran flawlessly, the first successful launch in 8 months. Laura turned to James, her expression unreadable. 30 minutes. You fixed what $15 million couldn't. James nodded, unsure if he'd be praised or punished for outshining the experts. The engineers whispered, their awe tinged with resentment. Laura's mind raced. Had she just found a savior or a wild card? We need to talk, she said, gesturing toward the elevator. As they left the server room, James felt the weight of his gamble. He'd saved Nexus Core, but at what cost? Ethan's face flashed in his mind. Grounding him. Whatever came next, he'd face it for his son. The elevator doors closed, sealing James's fate and horizons. The server room at Horizon Innovations buzzed with stunned silence as Nexus Core's status board glowed green, its AI platform stable for the first time in 8 months. James Carter stepped back from the terminal, his janitor's uniform incongruous among the high-tech machinery. Dr. Emily Chun stared at the screen, her disbelief palpable. It's running perfectly, she muttered, almost to herself. Engineers crowded around, their laptops confirming the impossible. No errors, no crashes, just seamless performance. Laura Bennett, CEO, stood by the launch console. Her arms crossed, processing the magnitude of what had just happened. 30 minutes, she said, her voice low but piercing. 10 experts, $15 million. 8 months of failure, and you fixed it in 30 minutes. James nodded, his hands still trembling from adrenaline. It was a timing issue, ma'am. I just adjusted the load balancer. His humility only deepened the room's awe. Chin, recovering, shook her head. That wasn't just a tweak. You rewrote the initialization sequence like you built the system yourself. James didn't respond. His past at quantum dynamics was a ghost he wasn't ready to resurrect fully. Laura's mind churned. She built Horizon by spotting talent in unlikely places. Her first coder was a barista with a knack for algorithms, but James was something else. His fix didn't just save Nexus Core. It saved her company from bankruptcy, her reputation from ruin. Investors would back off, clients would stay, but the room's undercurrent of resentment was palpable. Engineers who'd toiled for months glared at the janitor who'd made them look incompetent. Laura sensed it, her leadership instincts kicking in. Clear the room, she ordered. James, stay. As the team filed out, Chen lingered, her expression a mix of respect and unease. Laura gestured for James to follow her to a quiet corner. Who are you really? She asked, her tone softer but probing. James took a breath. I'm James Carter, night janitor. But I used to be Jacob Carter, senior software architect at Quantum Dynamics. I left that life when my son, Ethan, got sick. His treatments cost more than I could earn after layoffs. Laura's eyes softened, but her pragmatism held firm. You've been cleaning my building for 3 years, hearing everything. And you never said a word. Why now? James's voice was steady. Because Ethan needs me, and Horizon was about to collapse. I couldn't stay invisible anymore. Laura nodded, her decision forming. I'm offering you a role. Chief Technology Officer, $350,000 a year, full benefits, including experimental treatments for Ethan. But I need to know you're all in. James's breath caught. The offer was a lifeline, a chance to give Ethan the care he deserved, to reclaim his identity. But the weight of leadership, the resentment of peers, loomed large. I need to think about it, he said. Ethan's my priority. Laura handed him her card. Take until Monday. But James, what you did today wasn't just a fix. It was a miracle. As he left the server room, James felt the lobby's marble under his feet, a world he'd cleaned now shifting beneath him. He'd saved Nexus Core, but the real test was coming. Could he lead? Or would his past keep him chained to the mop? Ethan's science fair was tomorrow. James would decide for him. The Seattle skyline sparkled outside, a city unaware of the hero in its midst. Laura Bennett's office on Horizon Innovations' 50th floor was a shrine to ambition, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing Seattle's skyline. James Carter sat in a leather chair worth more than his monthly rent, his janitor's uniform a stark contrast to the polished elegance. Laura, behind her mahogany desk, studied him with the intensity of a chess master. Tell me your story, James, she said, her voice calm but commanding. All of it. James exhaled, the weight of a decade's sacrifice pressing on him. I graduated magna cum laude from MIT, computer science. Spent 10 years at Quantum Dynamics, leading AI system designs for global clients. I had everything: career, wife, future. Then Ethan was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder at 5. Treatments cost $4,000 a month, uninsured. My wife left. She couldn't handle it. Quantum downsized in 2018, and I was out. No one hires a desperate man who cashed out his 401k for medical bills. I took the janitor job for health insurance. Laura leaned forward, her own rise from a dorm room coder giving her empathy. You've been here 3 years, hearing my team's failures, and stayed silent. What? James's hands clenched. Pride. Fear. If I spoke up and failed, I'd lose this job. Ethan needs stability. Laura nodded, her mind calculating. Your fix saved Horizon. I'm offering you Chief Technology Officer, $350,000, equity, and a medical plan covering Ethan's treatments. We have partnerships with Seattle's top research hospitals. Ethan gets the best care. You get to lead. James's heart raced. The offer was salvation. Ethan could thrive, not just survive. But the role meant scrutiny, politics, a team resentful of his leap from janitor to boss. What about my son's schedule? CTO hours aren't flexible, he said. Laura smiled faintly. Horizon has an on-site childcare center with tutors for gifted kids. Ethan's a coder too, isn't he? James's face softened. He's 10, taught himself Python on my old laptop. Built a game for his class last month. He wants to be like I was. Laura made a note. He'll get resources to grow, coding camps, mentors. In return, you help me build Nexus Core into the future of AI. James looked out at Seattle, imagining Ethan healthy, coding beside him. But doubt lingered. What about Dr. Chen's team? They've been at this for months. Laura's eyes gleamed. That's why I want you. Chen's brilliant, but she's stuck in conventional thinking. You see what others miss. You'd guide them, not replace them. James held Laura's card. Its embossed title, CTO, almost surreal. I need the weekend to talk to Ethan. Laura stood, extending her hand. Whatever you decide, you saved my company today. I don't forget that. James shook her hand, his calloused palm against her smooth one, a bridge between worlds. As he left, the lobby felt different, no longer his workplace but a stage for his return. At Lincoln Elementary, Ethan waited, his science fair project, a solar-powered robot, clutched proudly. Dad, you look different, he said. James knelt, smiling. Maybe I am, buddy. Let's talk about our future. That night, James weighed Laura's offer against the safety of anonymity. Ethan's health, his dreams, tipped the scales. By Sunday, he decided he'd take the risk. Not just for Horizon, but for the man he'd buried and the son he'd die for. Monday, he'd walk into Horizon as CTO or not at all. James Carter's first day as Horizon Innovations CTO began with a Navy suit, bought on clearance, and a tie Ethan had picked out. The 50th floor office, with its panoramic Seattle views, felt like another planet. Laura Bennett greeted him warmly. Terrified, she asked. Petrified, James admitted. But ready. Laura nodded. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. She briefed him on Nexus Core's next phase, global expansion. But a shadow loomed. Michael Reed, Horizon's VP of Cybersecurity, had been passed over for CTO. His icy handshake and forced smile at the staff meeting betrayed resentment. Welcome, James, Michael said, his tone clipped. Big shoes to fill. James sensed trouble but focused on his role. By week 3, he'd won over half the team, his practical solutions cutting through bureaucratic fog. Dr. Emily Chen, initially skeptical, became an ally, impressed by his ability to simplify complex AI issues. But Michael's hostility grew. He undermined James in meetings, questioning his outdated experience. James ignored the barbs, focusing on Ethan, now thriving in Horizon's childcare program, his health improving with new treatments. Then, disaster struck. At 9 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday, James's assistant, Rachel, burst into his office, pale. We've got a problem. She handed him a report from Sentinel Security, Horizon's external auditor. Critical vulnerability in Nexus Core's encryption. Possible data breach. The logs point to your credentials. James's stomach dropped. The report detailed unauthorized access to client data, banks, hospitals, governments traced the changes made under his login 2 weeks ago. I haven't touched encryption since my initial fix, James said, scanning the damning evidence. Rachel hesitated. Laura's in an emergency board meeting. Sentinel wants answers now. James's mind raced. His 30-minute fix had made him a hero. Now, it cast him as a villain. He called Dr. Chen. Emily, meet me in the server room. We've got a crisis. In the humming server room. Chin studied the report. This is bad, James. If client data is compromised, we're talking lawsuits, bankruptcy. James's voice was grim. Someone used my credentials. This isn't an accident, it's sabotage. Chin's eyes widened. You're suggesting an inside job? James nodded. And I think I know who. Michael Reed had motive, spurned ambition, and means. As cybersecurity VP with access to all systems. Last week, James had overheard Michael in the break room, venting to a coder. The janitor gets CTO, and I'm stuck babysitting firewalls? The venom in his voice had chilled James. Chin frowned. Michael's good, but this is sophisticated. We need proof. James pulled up access logs. Look, unauthorized logins at 4 a.m. Times I was home with Ethan. Someone's mimicking my patterns. Chin's skepticism softened. If you're right, Michael's not just framing you, he's risking Horizon's entire client base. The stakes skyrocketed. A breach could expose millions to fraud, ruin Horizon's reputation, and end James's career. Laura summoned them to the 50th floor. The boardroom was a pressure cooker. Directors glaring. Laura's voice was neutral but strained. James, the logs show your credentials. Explain. James stood tall. I didn't do this, Laura. Someone's using my access to sabotage Nexus Core. Give me 6 hours to prove it. Board chairwoman Helen Price scoffed. 6 hours? This smells like deflection. Laura studied James. Her trust wavering. 6 hours, James. Find proof, or you're done. As he left, James felt Michael's smirk from across the room. The game was on, and Ethan's future hung in the balance. James had 6 hours to unmask a traitor or lose everything. The server room at Horizon Innovations thrummed with urgency as James Carter and Dr. Emily Chin hunched over terminals, their screens casting stark light on their faces. Seattle's rain lashed the windows, mirroring the storm within. James had 5 hours left to prove he wasn't behind Nexus Core's security breach. The audit report accused his credentials, but James knew Michael Reed, the spurned VP, had orchestrated the sabotage. Start with Michael's access logs, James said, his fingers dancing across the keyboard. He'd need to study my coding patterns to frame me. Chin pulled up records, her eyes narrowing. Here, Michael accessed your user profile 8 times last month, flagged as security checks. That's not protocol. James's pulse quickened. He was profiling me, digging deeper. They found Michael's late-night logins, timed when James was with Ethan. Look, Chin said, pointing. He modified the encryption module 3 days after your fix, using your credentials. James examined the code. It's subtle, a backdoor that only activates under specific data queries. He made it look like my work. Chin's voice hardened. This isn't just framing you, it's corporate espionage. They uncovered encrypted files on a hidden server, client data, bank records, medical histories, packaged for sale. He's selling to competitors. James said, horrified. If this leaks, Horizon's done. Chin's hands shook. How do we prove it's Michael? James cross-referenced timestamps. My badge logs show I left at 6 p.m. daily. These changes were made at 3 a.m. Michael didn't know new execs are tracked. The evidence mounted. Michael's digital fingerprints on the backdoor, his communications with a rival firm. But one piece stunned them. A draft email from Michael to the board, accusing James of incompetence, sent hours before the audit. He planned to scapegoat me from the start, James said. Chin nodded. He bet on everyone dismissing the janitor CTO. With 3 hours left, they hit a wall. Michael's backdoor had triggered a silent data leak. It's active, Chin whispered. He's siphoning data now. James's mind raced. We can trace the transfer. If we catch him mid-act, he's finished. They followed the data trail to an offshore server, Michael's signature unmistakable. James froze it. Locking the breach. Got him, he said, but dread lingered. The board meeting loomed, and Michael's charm had swayed directors before. At 2 p.m., James and Chun compiled their findings. Logs, code, emails. Chun looked at James, respect in her eyes. You didn't just find evidence, you saw through his motives. I misjudged you. James smiled faintly. You're not the first. As they headed to the 50th floor, James reflected on his journey. 3 weeks ago, he was invisible, mopping floors. Now, he was fighting to save a tech giant and his name. The elevator climb felt like ascending to judgment. Michael's betrayal wasn't just personal. It threatened thousands of jobs, millions of clients. James clutched his tablet, The evidence is shield. Shin squeezed his arm. We've got this. But doubt not. Michael was cunning, and the board's bias against James's background could blind them. The doors opened to the boardroom, where Michael sat. Smug, unaware his plot was unraveling. James took a breath, Ethan's face in his mind. This wasn't just about clearing his name. It was about justice for Horizon, for his son, for the man he buried. 6 hours ago, he was a suspect. Now, he was the hunter, and Michael Reed was the prey. The 50th floor boardroom at Horizon Innovations was a crucible of tension. Seattle's gray skyline a somber backdrop. James Carter stood before Laura Bennett, the board, and a smirking Michael Reed, his tablet heavy with evidence. Laura's face was unreadable. Her voice steady. James, you have proof the breach wasn't your fault. James nodded, connecting his tablet to the projector. Michael Reed orchestrated this attack to frame me and sell Horizon's data. The room erupted in gasps. Helen Price, board chairwoman, leaned forward. Serious accusations, Mr. Carter. Show us. James's voice was calm but firm. Michael studied my coding patterns to mimic my work. He displayed access logs, Michael's late-night logins using James's credentials. He planted a backdoor in the encryption module. Time to leak client data. Code flashed on screen. Michael's subtle sabotage clear. Dr. Emily Chin stepped forward. We found encrypted files, bank records, medical data prepared for a rival firm. Michael's emails confirm he negotiated the sale. The board's murmurs grew heated. James showed a draft email from Michael, blaming the unqualified janitor CTO for the breach. He exploited your doubts about my background, James said. Michael's smirk vanished. This is absurd. Carter's deflecting his own failure. Laura's eyes narrowed. Then explain your 3 a.m. logins, Michael. James revealed the clincher, a live data transfer, frozen mid-act, traced to Michael's offshore server. He's stealing data as we speak. Helen Price's face hardened. This is damning. Michael stammered. I was auditing security. James countered. Your backdoor only worked because my fix stabilized Nexus core. You didn't expect me to trace it. The room fell silent. Laura stood, her voice like ice. Michael Reed, you're terminated. Federal authorities will handle your espionage. Michael's face crumpled as security escorted him out. Laura turned to James. You didn't just clear your name, you saved Horizon. Helen addressed the board. We misjudged Mr. Carter. His leadership averted catastrophe. James felt a weight lift. Ethan's future secure. Laura approached, her tone softer. Your fix didn't just save Nexus Core, it stopped a heist. What now? James met her gaze. I want to ensure this never happens again. Stronger systems, better oversight. The board nodded, impressed. Chin clapped James's shoulder. I'm glad you're our CTO. As the meeting ended, James reflected on his arc. A month ago, he was invisible, mopping floors. Now, he'd thwarted a traitor, earning respect he'd lost years ago. But the victory was bittersweet. Michael's plot had preyed on biases about James's past, a reminder of how close he'd come to ruin. Leaving the room, James glanced at Seattle's skyline. Its lights a beacon of possibility. Ethan was at Horizon's childcare center, coding a new project. James's heart swelled. He'd fought for his son and won. Laura joined him at the elevator. You proved something today, James. Not just to us, but to yourself. He nodded, the janitor's uniform a fading memory. I'm not that man anymore. The elevator descended, carrying James toward a new chapter. Horizon was safe, its clients protected, its future bright. But James's real triumph was reclaiming his identity, not just as a tech genius, but as a father who'd never stopped fighting for his son. The board's applause echoed in his mind. A testament to a truth he'd almost forgotten. Sometimes, the least likely hero is the only one who can save the day. 6 months later, Horizon Innovations' lobby buzzed with energy. No longer the sterile expanse James Carter once mopped. Now CTO, James stood beside his son, Ethan, who presented a coding project to a crowd of visitors. Horizon's Young Innovators Program. James's brainchild nurtured gifted kids like Ethan, whose autoimmune disorder no longer dimmed his brilliance. The new medical plan, part of James's CTO package, had transformed Ethan's health. His energy boundless as he explained his app, a traffic optimizer, to odd engineers. James's chest swelled with pride. Laura Bennett joined him, her smile genuine. Ethan's a star, she said. Remind me how old? 10, James replied. Already eyeing our internship program. Laura laughed. He'll run this place someday. The lobby, once James's domain of anonymity, now hosted a revolution. After Michael Reed's arrest for espionage, James proposed a radical idea, a talent discovery program. There are others like me, he'd told Laura, hidden by circumstance. Let's find them. Horizon now scouted potential, not credentials, hiring coders from community colleges, ex-baristas with knack, even a former mechanic who debugged like a savant. The program diversified Horizon's team, sparking innovation. Nexuscore's global rollout was a triumph, its security ironclad thanks to James's reforms. He'd worked with Dr. Emily Chin to redesign the AI's architecture, making it unhackable. Chin, once a skeptic, now called James the best CTO we've ever had. The board, initially wary, celebrated Horizon's stock surge, crediting James's vision. But the real change was cultural. Employees no longer judged by titles but by ideas. James's story, janitor to genius, inspired a shift. At a staff meeting, he'd shared his past, urging others to see potential in the overlooked. I was invisible, he said, but someone believed in me. Believe in each other. The applause had been deafening. Ethan finished his presentation, the crowd clapping. He ran to James, eyes shining. Dad, they loved it. James knelt. I'm so proud, buddy. Ethan's health, his coding passion, were gifts James had fought for. Laura leaned in. You've changed Horizon, James. What's next? He paused, Michael's betrayal echoing. Michael targeted me because he thought no one trusted janitor. Let's make Horizon a place where no talent's ignored. Laura's eyes lit up. A global initiative? James nodded. Start here. Scale worldwide. Potential's everywhere. That evening, James and Ethan walked through Seattle's streets, the Space Needle aglow. Ethan clutched his project award, chattering about coding. James saw his younger self in Ethan's spark, a reminder of why he'd risked everything. Horizon's lobby, once a symbol of his invisibility, was now a beacon of possibility. The talent discovery program was his legacy, ensuring no one else had to hide their genius. At home, Ethan showed James a new app design. For you, Dad, he said. To thank you. James hugged him, tears welling. He'd saved Horizon, but Ethan had saved him, giving purpose to every mop stroke, every code line. The city hummed outside, unaware of the quiet revolution James had sparked. Horizon wasn't just a tech giant. It was a place where anyone could rise. James looked at Ethan, healthy, happy, limitless. The janitor was gone, replaced by a leader, a father, a man who'd found his place. His reflection in the window showed a tailored suit, but his heart carried the grit of the floors he'd cleaned, the fights he'd won, and the future he'd built. James Carter's journey from janitor to CTO of Horizon Innovations teaches a profound truth. Talent often hides in plain sight, masked by circumstance or prejudice. His story reveals that true potential shines brightest in adversity, where desperation and hunger forge breakthroughs no resume can predict. James wasn't defined by his mop or his past, but by his courage to step forward, risking everything for his son and a company on the brink. His triumph over Michael Reed's betrayal shows that appearances deceive. Genius can wear a janitor's uniform, just as betrayal can hide in a corner office. Horizon's salvation came not from elite credentials, but from a man who saw what others missed, proving that the least likely hero often holds the key to victory. This lesson challenges us to look beyond titles, degrees, or backgrounds. The next innovator might be the barista crafting your coffee, the mechanic fixing your car, or the quiet colleague no one notices. By valuing potential over pedigree, we unlock possibilities that transform lives and organizations. James's talent discovery program embodies this, ensuring no brilliance goes unseen. His story reminds us that failure, fear, and invisibility are not endpoints, but starting lines for those bold enough to run. Pause today and think of someone you've overlooked. A coworker, a neighbor, a friend whose quiet strengths you've ignored. Reach out, listen to their ideas, and give them a chance to shine. Ask what they're passionate about, what problems they'd solve if given the opportunity. You might uncover a genius, a leader, a game changer hiding in plain sight. Like Laura Bennett, take a risk on the unlikely, and you could spark a revolution in your workplace, community, or life. Don't let talent stay invisible. Find it, nurture it, and watch it change the world.